What does it mean to hate others in order to follow Christ? This is the question that we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of Luke on Walking Through the Bible. If you have a Bible with you, you can turn to Luke chapter 14. We're going to be reading from verses 25 to 35. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So, Luke chapter 14, beginning at verse 25. Now great multitudes went with him, and he turned and said to them, If anyone comes after me and does not hate his father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. And whoever does not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. For which of you, intending to build a tower, does not sit down first and count the cost, whether he has enough to finish it, lest, after he has laid the foundation and is not able to finish, all who see it begin to mock him, saying, This man began to build and was not able to finish. Or what king, going to make war against another king, does not sit down first and consider whether he is able with 10,000 to meet him who comes against him with 20,000? Or else, while the other is still a great way off, he sends a delegation and asks for conditions of peace. So likewise, whoever of you does not forsake all that he has cannot be my disciple. Salt is good, but if the salt has lost its flavor, how shall it be seasoned? It is neither fit for the land nor for the dunghill, but men throw it out. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. In this chapter, we've had Jesus eating with the Pharisees, teaching them about pride versus humility. He did this in two parables, the parable of the wedding guests and the parable of the great supper. The point of those two parables was that God wasn't going to accept those who were proud into the kingdom. He was only going to accept those who in humility will obey him. Coming out of verse 25, the setting changes. Great multitudes were following Jesus, and so, as Jesus often does, he turns to teach them. His lesson concerns the actual cost of following him. What Jesus says here sounds harsh, and to some extent it is. Jesus says if anyone who comes after him does not hate his father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, and even his own life, he cannot be his disciple. And whoever does not bear his cross and come after Jesus could not be his disciple. Now, readers of the Bible know that in other places, yes, even earlier in this book, Jesus taught that we're to love our neighbor. The Apostle Paul said that husbands and wives are to love each other, love their children, and take care of their parents when needed. Is Jesus teaching a different message? No, he is not. But if that's so, what does Jesus mean when he says that we need to hate others in order to follow him? The answer to this question is really found in the illustrations that Jesus uses. He asks the crowd, who builds a tower without first sitting down and analyze how much it will cost in full so that he is able to finish? If he fails to do this, others will mock him because of his lack of forethought. Or what king goes to war against another king before examining whether or not he has enough troops to win the war, or explore other options as to whether the conflict can be settled peacefully? The answer, of course, is that nobody does this unless they are acting foolishly. So it is with being a disciple of Jesus. Before committing yourself to Jesus, you have to examine whether or not you're willing to give up all if required in order to be Jesus' disciple. Some people think that becoming a disciple of Jesus will just be something that they add to their lives. It isn't. Becoming a disciple of Jesus is a way of life. It will change how we behave, how we live, and who we associate with. It will be a life of hardship in many ways because getting ahead in this world often involves going against the commands of God. Therefore, Christians may not become wealthy. We may not become powerful because we choose not to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season. Even our familial relationships could be strained because of our choice to follow Jesus. Are we willing to give up our own comfort and some close relationships that we hold dear if those will get in the way of following Jesus? If we are not, then we can't be a disciple of Jesus. We need to truly count the cost and be willing to do all that is necessary to obey Christ. That's what it means to hate others. It means that when push comes to shove, God will come first no matter what. It doesn't mean that we can't be nice to them or that our duties to care for them are somehow lifted. It just means that we love them and ourselves less than we love Jesus. Verses 34 and 35 concludes this discourse by saying that salt is good, but if the salt has lost its flavor, how shall it be seasoned? It is neither fit for the land nor the dunghill, but men throw it out. Jesus taught a similar thing in the Sermon on the Mount found in Matthew 5:13. What is Jesus saying? Well, unlike the salt that we find in our salt shakers today, which contains a pure form of sodium chloride, Salt in eastern countries of that time also contained other minerals. And so what Jesus meant when he said that salt loses its flavor was that when all of the salty properties of what was known as salt were gone, that what was left over was useless for anything concerning food, whether taste or preservation. Now we know that Jesus was not making commentary on food, but was using what they knew to make a spiritual application. What Jesus meant was that his disciples would, through their lives, spread the truth of the gospel to a world that desperately needed it, thus contributing to the preservation of people's souls. However, if the salt loses its flavor, the lives of the disciples would be useless. They would not be teaching the lost, and the people won't be saved, and they will crumble under the weight of persecution and leave the faith themselves. If this occurs, Jesus would throw them out, and they would be lost. Those who started to follow Christ but later wouldn't forsake all to follow him would fall into this latter category, a message that ties these two teachings together. With that, our time is up for today. Tomorrow is Labor Day in Canada, so we will be taking a one-day break and return, the Lord willing, on Tuesday, September 8th, 2020. When we return, we hope you'll join us for our discussion of Luke chapter 15, verses 1 to 10, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends, so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.